Hello and welcome to day 5 of this book, Frameworks Vol.2, God by Paul Blackham. Day 5, the Trinity and the Altar of Incense. The Trinity and the Altar of Incense. As we've begun this book, we've been looking at these 3 pieces of furniture in this tabernacle, this tent, this place of worship, and thinking about how each piece of furniture, the Ark of the Covenant, the table of bread, the oil lamp, each piece of furniture symbolizes a member of the Trinity, one of the 3 persons of the one God. Now, as we think about the Trinity, it's so often to feel like the Trinity is so complicated. It's this real enigma, these fathomless depths that we cannot ever really truly understand or articulate. It's really easy to think that the Trinity is like this complicated maths or physics puzzle to be kind of tried to try to pick apart, but which really, frankly, we have no chance of doing. On the contrary, when the Bible presents to us the nature of who God is and what he's like, as the Bible shows us the Trinity, it really says it's quite simple. It's the life of 3 persons in one God, utterly and completely united. We often speak of God in the 3 titles, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, but the Bible has many titles for speaking of each person of this Trinity, each person of this triune Godhead. But it's really not that complicated. The Bible is the story of the life of God, of how God interacts within God and how God interacts with us, with creation, and all that is going on. And as we study the Bible, as we think about what God has revealed to us, really what we're doing is seeing more and more the depths of the wonder of who God is and what he is like. And so we read and study the Bible, and we see here in the tabernacle that before creation is this God, 3 persons in one God. In the chapters of Exodus 33, 34, 35 particularly, we see we get given insight into how this God works. A few chapters on from the construction of the furniture, we have insight into how God works. And what's happening is Moses, he's speaking to, we're told, God, face to face as a man speaks to his friend. That's what we read in Exodus 33. And so we're immediately introduced to this God who Moses can see, the seen and visible God. Then very shortly after that, there's this language of this unseen God, this invisible God, this God who cannot be seen by Moses. And that's who we commonly speak of as the Father, the first person of the Trinity who cannot be seen. And Moses at first thinks, well, I want to get beyond Jesus. I want to get beyond this visible God, and I really want to pierce through the darkness and to meet with the unseen God. But what Moses has to learn is that actually by meeting the seen God, by meeting the visible person, he is meeting with the fullness of God, and he is getting to know and interacting with and experiencing the life of the unseen God. Because it's not 3 gods, it is one God in these 3 persons. Or in the language of Jesus, if you know me, if you have seen me, if you have met me, if you have experienced me, then you have also met with the Father. When Jesus, the Lord, the sent one, the seen one, when we meet with him, the one who's full of the Holy Spirit, we experience all 3 persons of the Trinity. And it's in those relational terms that the Bible speaks of who God is and what he is like. And the great goal of studying the Bible, of worshipping in the church and learning together, is to know more and more, better and better, the life of this 3 persons in this one God, in the Trinity. And in getting to know him better, in getting to know God better, we are more able to enjoy and to live the life that God calls us to. So that's the Trinity. But what about the altar of incense? We don't really come to this 4th piece of furniture until later on in the description of the tabernacle, but it's worth us pointing it out here. Because let's take a step back. What does the camp of the tabernacle look like? It probably looks something a bit like this. If I get my head on one side, then you'll be able to see it. And this is an artist's impression of what it may have looked like, but you've got that kind of structure, this walled off area, the tabernacle space, inside which you see that little tent, just about kind of across from there with the smoke billowing out of it. And that's the tent that we've been speaking about, where there's the holiest of holies representing heaven, and then the holy place representing earth. And inside it probably looked something like this in terms of its layout. You've got the room on the left, the Holy of Holies representing heaven, that's where the Ark of the Covenant is, and then the holy place representing earth and kind of the rest of creation. And you've got the table of bread there, you've got the oil lamp as well. And then this altar of incense, where does it sit? It sits right in the middle of those three, right at the heart of the Trinity. Now, what is this altar of incense that sits in the middle of, between these three persons of the Trinity? Well, from reading other sections of Exodus, from Hebrews chapter 9, from Revelation chapter 5, we learn that the altar of incense and the incense, the smoke, the smells of the incense burning are the prayers of the saints. It is the church. That is the church represented in a piece of furniture, right at the heart of the three persons of God. And that is where we rightly belong. That is where we're created to be. That is where God invites us to dwell, right at the heart of the Trinity, beloved, cared for. And the prayers of the saints, this incense rising up and entering in through the veil into the Holy of Holies, into the highest heavens. And so the prayers of the church are deeply precious to God. And the life of the church is precious to God. And we dwell right in the heart of that triune God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And so I hope the tabernacle, as we continue to look into it, gives us a bit of insight into how the Trinity works and where we fit into it all, right at the heart of God. Maybe it's a good chance to look through the books of the chapters of Exodus 33, 34, and 35 and think, what does this show me about the triune God? It's easy to think, Moses knew nothing of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Moses knew nothing of the Trinitarian God. On the contrary, Moses, perhaps of all Christians, knew most clearly and experienced most closely the very nature of God, who is seen, who is unseen, the God who is Father, who is Son and Holy Spirit, the God who is three persons in one God. I hope that's helpful. Have a look and a read of Exodus. Think about those pieces of furniture. A chance to think about the nature of God shown to us in the life of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.